That's the last thing we want to do. That's a direct order. Do it now.
He's been put down, ripped off, cut open. Now he's unleashed. Unleashed. The American insurgency starts now. This is Rusty Humphries, Rebellion Radio.
Well, hello and welcome. It is another edition of the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. We got the podcast at iTunes and Stitcher and iHeartRadio. We are live at Right Wing News and a bunch of other great Facebook pages, like my own Facebook page, Talk to Rusty. And we want to thank our nice friends at Team Trump and our nice friends that we support Barron Trump and other great places. Now's a good time, if you would please, check in. I want to hear from you. I want to know if you're a deplorable, where are you a deplorable from? We'll check in just a couple of minutes. Now's a good time to share the video. Let people know what it is that we're about. Do like Brenda does. Winder, Georgia. Ray is in Alabama. Julian is there. Tom Young is from Indianapolis, Indiana. Rod is from Granby, Colorado. Pam's checking in from Indianapolis. We got Mike, who thinks there really is a civil war brewing right now. I hope you're wrong, but we'll talk about that. Ken's in Maine. Lisa in Boston. Kevin's in Boston. Cheryl's checking in. Jeremy is in Western Kentucky, and so on and so on and so on. We're going to get some more people here in just a minute. Another day of crap. This has been a lousy, lousy day. Of course, some idiots, ISIS terrorists, some Islamic extremist Muslim terrorists went and crashed into a bunch of people in Barcelona today. 13 people dead, 100 plus injured. They're still looking for the driver. 2 suspects in custody. Then there was a house explosion that was connected to the attack. And now we have vehicles now are weapons of terror. And then we have in our own country a different kind of terrorism. Thankfully, they're not killing people today. But it wouldn't be the first time that these leftists hurt somebody. But we have a destruction of our history. Now, it's funny. There's a guy in CNN, I'm going to have to watch this in just a second, where supposedly if you say that it's your culture, to them, that is I guess, I didn't know this, that it's a huge deal. It's a white guy racist code word. It is? Our culture is a white guy racist word? I didn't know that. Now, everything today, if you weren't on the left, you're wrong, is what you're being told. It doesn't matter. Everything. By the way, they torched a bust of Abraham Lincoln today in Chicago. Vandals defaced a Robert E. Lee statue at Duke. And more. Matter of fact, there's one out of Georgia, Piedmont Park, one of my favorite places. It got attacked today as well from people on the left.
Video today of the statue damaged in Atlanta's Piedmont Park during a demonstration in support of the victims of the Charlottesville violence. Channel 2's Dave Huddleston is live in Midtown Atlanta with a new call for peace from Atlanta's mayor. Dave?
And Jovita, in the last 2 hours, he said we all should stand up and denounce racism across the country. He also asked that all protests here in Atlanta be peaceful. But as you mentioned, Jovita, look, you can see that comes too late for this statue that was vandalized. Throughout Monday afternoon, we witnessed visitors of Atlanta's Piedmont Park getting an up-close look at the damage caused by protesters Sunday night. A group of protesters damaged the Peace Monument near the park's entrance on 14th Street.
The Peace Monument.
After a march from downtown Atlanta.
Listen to what monument this is.
Of the victims in the Charlottesville, Virginia attack. The more than 100-year-old statue actually commemorates the effort to bring the North and South together after the Civil War.
It sounds like it started off like had good intentions, but got carried away by a few individuals.
Huh.
That's too bad.
Any type of vandalism of this nature, it kind of sends a signal. There's really no peace right now. There's a lot of unrest.
Richard Laub is the director of the Heritage Preservation Program at Georgia State University.
It shows, though, what an emotional issue this has become, and the removal of statues and information from the Civil War. And I think it hopefully shows people that they need to be thinking about these things in context and within what's happening with the rest of their community.
Local clergy members are hoping the events of the past few days will bring the community together.
We preach it every Sunday. We preach the fact that God loves us all.
And we reached out to the organization that maintains this peach statue, but they have yet to hear from them. Mayor Reed also called for the deadly attacks in Charlottesville. He called them domestic terrorism acts. Reporting live from Northeast Atlanta, Dave Huddleston, Channel 2 Action News.
Okay, so that was in Atlanta today. There's more. By the way, today's broadcast is being sponsored by our good friends at Australian Dream Arthritis Pain Relief Cream and Back Pain Relief Cream. If you have any kind of pain, if you would please go to your nearest Walmart, Walgreens, or other great retailer and check it out. It doesn't burn, doesn't smell, it's not greasy. You rub it right on where it hurts, and it actually works. 100% money-back guarantee. That's right, it's an empty jar guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, you can return that entire jar and get your money back. But I don't think you're going to do it. Why? Because it actually works. Again, it is Australian Dream Arthritis Pain Relief Cream and Back Pain Relief Cream. Available at Walmart, Walgreens, and all great retailers like that. Okay, I want to know your thoughts here about how big of a deal this is. Brandon said something. Brandon just wrote something that I was noticing that young girl said. Well, they had the best of intentions, and then, well, a couple people went wrong. Okay, the best of intentions? These folks, it always goes wrong whenever Antifa gets involved. Always. And then I love how the media continues to say, well, Donald Trump, boy, he was supporting the Klan. How many times has he got to come out and say, this is bad, I don't support it? And the idea that they want to say that these leftists are not as bad as the Klan, and they are. There's more of them. There's way more of these Antifa kooks than there are the Klan. And they're out there causing real violence. Now, the Klan used to do a lot of violence. Now they're just a bunch of idiot inbreeders that just try to get attention. Quit giving the attention. But now we got these Antifa inbreeders, and they just want to kill, break, and tear down everything they can. Ted Cruz had something to say earlier today about these attacks and these different thoughts of these groups. Let's see what Senator Cruz had to say here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion.
The Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists who gathered there, they're racists, they're bigots, they're idiots, and they're spreading lies. They're spreading lies, they're spreading hatred. And I think it's incumbent on all of us, every American, regardless of party, Republican, Democrat, regardless of who you are, to stand together and denounce those lies.
I agree.
I believe truth is stronger than lies. What we saw when that young man drove the car into a crowd of people, that was domestic terrorism. That was grotesque. I'm glad the Department of Justice answered my call and the call of many others to investigate that, and I believe to prosecute it as domestic terrorism, because nobody has a right to inflict their hateful views through violence and murder on others. If you take your political views to the step of engaging in violence, to the step of engaging in murder, whether it was driving a car into that crowd of innocents in Charlottesville, or whether it was murdering 5 Dallas police officers, that is completely unacceptable. And we should stand united against murderers and those who spread hate.
Okay, Senator Cruz, that was well said. But we've got to also hold those people on the left accountable. Now, somebody just wrote a second ago, and I want to get it out there. Where did she say? Was somebody saying that she was a liberal? Oh, here we go. It was Marilyn. Marilyn says, why does everything get blamed on liberals? I'm a liberal, and I'm not the kind of person that is portrayed. No, you're not. And you are. That is a very fair comment. Because I don't believe that this is regular, everyday Democrats. I don't believe this is good, hard-working Americans. This is not something that union guys are doing. These are, many of them, most of them are children who are in college, who have been brainwashed by their college professors, number one. Number two, these are useful idiots getting paid for by the left, guys like George Soros, to cause trouble. This, again, isn't it interesting how we always have this stuff happen during a Republican administration? Isn't it interesting? Or it happens, let's see, when was Occupy Wall Street? These are the same people. It's the same organizations. And let's see, Brenda says the liberal extremist Antifa and all destructors are being funded by the people who want to destroy and control this country. Yes. And that includes Republicans like John McCain and his boyfriend, Lindsey Graham. These people who think that, that Donald Trump shouldn't be there because he's not one of them. And that's what we are experiencing, my friends. I've told you this a long time ago. They were going to do everything in their power. And when I mean they, I mean the liberal elite, the elites, and that is Democrats and Republicans too. These elites who think that they should be running everything and nobody else should. Because if Donald Trump does what he says he's going to do, it destroys their power base. Let's see. Some more of your comments here today. Brandy says they're tearing America apart for Islam to take over. I don't know about that. Linda says, what is BLM? BLM is short for Black Lives Matter. Rashea, act like adults, have some class. Mike thinks George Soros needs to be arrested. Oh, my flag video went away. Sorry about that. Lisa says, I'm all about peacefully protesting, but in today's world, everyone is becoming violent and offended at every little thing. My jaw drops at this nonsense. It's unbelievable and sad. Linda says, come on, Ted, and denounce Antifa and BLM, you hypocrite. I agree. He should have. We have too many people in our Republicans that are trying to run as fast as they can away from Donald Trump because they think all this media crap is going to work. They believe that Donald Trump is in big political trouble. And so they will run as far and as fast as they can because they are cowards. They don't stand for anything. Bob Corker of Tennessee, he doesn't stand for anything. Lindsey Graham doesn't stand for anything. John McCain doesn't stand for anything. And yet we have this media that is so complicit, so tied in with the Democrat Party that they can't see the news. They can't see the truth. This is so dangerous. I've never seen anything like this. They are just unhinged. Let's take a look at what happened on CNN earlier today. I know you didn't watch it. That's why I play it, because nobody watched it. You might as well see what they had to say.
Sticking out to folks. Fry, let me ask you this. Yeah. The president's tweet, we've read it a few times, but just the very top of it is sad to see the history and culture of our great country be ripped apart, and he goes on because of the Confederate statues. When I read that, the president's tweet also echoes some of the wording. He used the word culture again in that press conference this week, that culture is under attack. I spoke with a former FBI agent last night who's gone undercover, who's infiltrated hate groups, and he says that word is one of those dog whistle words, and he explains it.
We got to stop right there. So, okay, I've never heard this before, that the word culture is now racist. I want you to listen to what he says, and then if you would please comment. I'm going to read some of your comments. Do you agree with what this guy on CNN has to say about the word culture? Is it a racist thing? The problem is everything is racist today, but it's not. If that's all you're looking for, if the only thing you want to see is racism, you'll find it. But if you're like me, and I'm guessing you, where we're trying to live our lives, we're trying to have our jobs and raise our families, and we don't want to see everything based on race. We don't look for it. Oh, it's because you got white privilege. I don't know. I think that's just I think it's just an excuse. It's just another excuse to say we want something. Give us something. We want something. I don't know. Let's take a look at what this idiot from CNN had to say.
In a fascinating way. Listen to this.
So that's long been a dog whistle term, Western culture, that we don't hate anybody, we just want to defend Western culture. But what they mean is Western European white culture. And so when he uses that phrasing of culture and that we want to protect our culture, we're afraid that our culture is under threat from whatever force, multiculturalism, what the Nazis would say is Jewish or internationalist influences. It is a message to them that, yes, this is about our white people being victims in this case and our right to defend ourselves violently if necessary.
Yeah, you're kind of a douche, if you ask me, that guy is. We don't have an American culture? You know, my old friend Michael Savage, borders, language, and culture. You don't have a country without them. Part of our culture is the mixing of the melting pot, but now you're trying to say that, I guess, according to you, white people can't have a culture? I don't understand what you're trying to say. Do you, folks? You have some comments here? Go ahead, write it right now. I'd like to know your thoughts right now. If you're listening to the podcast, please share this podcast. If you're watching the video, would you please share the video and give us some thumbs up, some likes, or if you don't like it, give us some hates, whatever. Let us know what you're thinking right now. Let's see. Donald says, I'm white, therefore I'm racist, according to liberals. Kevin says, CNN has to be the worst news programs I've ever seen. They spin facts like no other to make Republicans seem racist and black Republicans Uncle Toms. Michael says, my white privilege has me working for my 31st year in a row. Taking down statues won't make racism go away. What's next? Brenda says, culture, it's a matter of opinion. Constantine wants to know, when was the last time you had a gun pointed at you in a traffic stop? I had, let's see. I've had guns pointed in my back when I was in the Palestinian areas. They threatened to cut off my head, so that wasn't here. I did have guns pulled at me at the Dallas airport once. I think there was 12 of them. My next question would be, when the police pull you over, Constantine, do you give them attitude? I don't care what color you are. If a cop pulls me over and I go, yeah, what do you want? They're gonna be concerned. I don't care what color you are. That police officer has a right to go home to his family tonight. And so if you treat him with disrespect and he doesn't know what you may or may not be packing in that car, you got a problem. And that's not just if you're black or brown-skinned or a white guy. Believe me, they don't give us a pass either. If you think there's white privilege there, you are sorely mistaken. Rusty says, Obama is to blame for all of this and the Democrats. Darren says, where do they find these clowns? Rod thinks we are doomed if we don't do something to change soon. Ronnie thinks if we dismantle the Democrat Party, then the racism will go away. Rob says the Democrats are destroying this country. Lisa says apparently everyone but white folks can have a culture. Kendall says what he's saying is white people can't have a culture. Brenda says, right, he's actually dividing the country. Steve wants to know, are they going to tear down Mount Rushmore too? I saw that today. Did you see that story? People are talking about it. Let me see if I can pull that up. Where did I see it? Yeah. Let me go to it really quick, get that CNN off. Look at this. Vice magazine tweet calls for blowing up Mount Rushmore. On the same day as the deadly incident in Barcelona, the police have confirmed as a terrorist attack. A tweet published by Vice, whose website PJ Media will not link in this post, called for the blowing up of Mount Rushmore. And you can see their tweet right there. It says, let's blow up Mount Rushmore, and then there's a picture of Mount Rushmore torn in two in the middle. The original tweet has since been deleted, but not before PJ Media grabbed the screenshot of the post. As of this writing, the article linked to the original tweet remains in the main post of Vice's homepage with a slightly toned-down language. Wow. That's pretty awful. That's pretty awful. Let's get back to CNN and see what these idiots have to say. More of them here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. Oops, wrong button. There we go.
Is there a clear indicator? Does the president not understand the words that he's using?
He understands perfectly.
Because he's a racist, right?
He is a media strategist for everything that he does. I mean, I got in trouble with some people early during the campaign by saying that he was a brilliant orator, and they were like, "What do you mean?" I said, I don't believe that he's a great politician, but I covered Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I've met white supremacist in a blizzard. I've been covering...
Wait a second. Is Sheriff Joe Arpaio a white supremacist now, too? These people, they won't stop at anything. I've covered Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Well, he's a good man. I'm sorry he actually wants people to follow the laws. Shame on him. What a bunch of dumbasses.
The white supremacist movement for 25 years. He hit the nail on the head. He knows how to deliver both in dog whistle and in, straight ahead racial terms. Now,
okay, have you ever heard the term we've now heard it three times now on this one broadcast, dog whistle term. Maybe that's something that's been out there for a long time. I've never heard it in that context. Have you? Again, this is CNN trying to follow the left's far left, the alt-left movement. They're trying to change the narrative. They're trying to change the meaning of words to win the argument without having any real facts, just using emotion because they feel bad about, I don't know what. They're never happy. Let's continue.
Now, here's the thing. My family, for example, dates back to the mid-1700s in America. And my family genetically is mixed between Irish, English, and black. And yet everyone in our ancestry line is black. And so we're probably descended from Irish indentured servants and African indentured servants. President Obama is related to a man of African descent who was here in the 1630s. The first capital city of America is Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Wait a second. Well, hold on a second. Barack Obama? I mean, maybe his mama, but his father was from Africa.
Related to a man of African descent.
Hold on.
Is black, and so we're probably descended from Irish indentured servants and African indentured servants. President Obama is related to a man of African descent who was here in the 1630s.
Okay, let's be honest. President Obama is more Irish than I am. Okay, let's not give him a pass on everything. Okay, I mean, these people. It's just a shock. Okay. Angie has a great point here. They fuel each other with their lies. You're right, Angie. Sandra thinks, Bill has a comment that's bad. Bill. Bill, you're funny. I'm not going to say it, though, but it's funny. Gladys says, my brother is white and in the precinct waiting to know about his two sons, which were arrested for fighting each other. They were arrested, cuffed very hard that he passed out from the handcuffs and spent 6 hours in the hospital. So that's what his white privilege got him today. Wow. Sorry about that. Sandra thinks the National Guard should be called in to protect historic monuments, put them in a museum for their protection. Myrna thinks they're trying to destroy this country and impeach our president. Senator called for assassination of our president. I think it was a state senator. I don't remember which one it was. Ann Coulter had a pretty good column today. It says, when liberals club people, it's with love in their hearts. Yes, apparently as long as violent leftists label their victims fascists, they're free to set fires and smash windows and beat civilians bloody. No police officer will stop them. They have carte blanche to physically assault anyone they disapprove of, including Charles Murray, Heather McDonald, Ben Shapiro, me, Milo Yiannopoulos, as well as anyone who wanted to hear us speak. Even far-left liberals at Evergreen State Professor Brett Weinstein will be stripped of police protection solely because the mob labeled him a racist. If the liberal shock troops deem local Republicans Nazis because some of them support the duly elected president, Portland, Oregon will cancel the annual Rose Festival parade rather than allow any Trump supporters to march. They're all fascists. The people cracking their skulls and smashing store windows, they're anti-fascists, or as they call themselves, Antifa. Now, we have no way of knowing if the speakers at Charlottesville Unite the Right rally last weekend were Nazis, white supremacists, or passionate Civil War buffs, as much as they weren't allowed to speak. The Democratic governor shut the event down despite a court order to let it proceed. We only have the visuals presented to us by the activist media, showing some participants with Nazi paraphernalia. But for all we know, the Nazi photos are unrepresentative of the rally as the photo of the drowned Syrian child is of the Europe's migrant crisis. Was it 1% Nazi? Or was it 99% Nazi? As the Unite the Right crowd was dispersing, they were forced by the police into the path of the peace-loving, rock-throwing, fire-spraying Antifa. A far-left reporter for the New York Times, Cheryl Gay Stolberg, tweeted live from the event. The hard left seems as hate-filled as the alt-right. I saw club-wielding Antifa beating white nationalists being led out of the park. And then that's when James Fields sped his car into the crowd of the counter-protesters. Then he immediately hit reverse, injuring dozens of people and killing one woman, Heather Heyer. This has universally been labeled terrorism. With any luck, we'll unravel Fields' motives faster than it took the Obama administration to discern the motives of a Muslim shouting Allahu Akbar while gunning down soldiers at Fort Hood, which, by the way, took 6 years. But so far, we all know that Fields is, as he says he was, upset about black people and wanted to kill as many as possible. On his Facebook page, he displayed a white power poster. He liked 3 organizations deemed white separatist hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. A subsequent search of his home turned up bomb-making materials, ballistic vests, rifles, ammunition, and a personal journal of combat tactics. Well, actually, none of that's true. The paragraph above describes down to the letter what was known about Micah Xavier Johnson, the black man who murdered 5 Dallas cops a year ago during a Black Lives Matter demonstration. My sole alteration to the facts is reversing the words black and white, says Ann Coulter. President Obama held a news conference the next day to say it's very hard to untangle the motives. New York Times editorialized agonistically that as many possible motives will be ticked off for the killer. But in certain cases, the media are quite willing to jump to conclusions. In others, they seem to need an inordinate amount of time to detect motives. Media think they already know all they need to know about James Fields, but they also thought they knew all they needed to know about the Duke lacrosse players, the gentle giant Michael Brown, and those alleged gang rapists at the University of Virginia. Waiting for facts is now the Nazi position. Liberals have Republicans over a barrel because they use the word racist. The word is kryptonite, capable of turning the entire GOP and 99% of the conservative media into a panicky mess of cowardice. This week, Mitt Romney and Senator Marco Rubio, among others, instructed us that masked liberals hitting people with baseball bats are pure of heart, provided that they first label the likes of Charles Murray or some housewife in a MAGA hat as fascists. Luckily, the week before opening fire on Republicans, critically injuring House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, Bernie Sanders supporter James Hodgkins had used the vital thing calling the GOP fascists. So you see, he wasn't trying to commit mass murder. He was just fighting Nazis. And Rubio and Romney will be expert witnesses. And let's recall the response of Hillary Clinton to the horrible murder of 5 Dallas cops last year. The woman who ran against Trump displayed all the moral blindness currently being slanderously imputed to him. In an interview on CNN about the slaughter that had taken place roughly 12 hours earlier, Hillary barely paused to acknowledge the 5 dead officers, much less condemn the shooting, before criticizing the police for their implicit bias 6 times in about as many minutes. But what she really wanted to talk about were the 2 recent police shootings of black men in Baton Rouge and Minneapolis, refusing to contradict Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton's claim that the Minneapolis shooting was based on racism. By the way, officers in both cases were later found innocent of any wrongdoing. Either the left has had a really bad streak of luck on their police brutality cases, or bad cops are a lot rarer than they think. Some people would not consider the mass murder of 5 white policemen as by an anti-cop nut in the middle of the BLM protest a good jumping off point for airing BLM's delusional complaints about the police. It would be like responding to John Hinckley Jr.'s attempted murder of President Reagan by denouncing Jodie Foster for not dating him. Or bring it back to Charlottesville. It would be as if Trump had responded by expounding on the kookiest positions of the United the Right, just as Hillary's response echoed the paranoid obsession of the cop killer. Trump would have quickly skipped over the dead girl and railed against black people, Jews, and so on. And that's the precise analogy to what Hillary did as the bodies of 5 Dallas cops lay in the morgue. Thank God Donald J. Trump is our president, and not Mitt Romney, and not Marco Rubio, and not that nasty woman. Do you think Ann Coulter is over the top, or do you agree with her? Comment here. Give us some emojis, if you would. Thumbs ups. Have you shared the video yet today? Sure appreciate everything you can do to let people know about us. It's so very, very important that people see and hear the truth every night. This is how we go around the mainstream media. This is how we get the message out to the real people. Anyway, how about, well, there's more of the CNN thing. I'll play another minute of it, and then I'm done. I want you to get all of the information. I want you to be able to have both sides. You have my insights, and then you could take it what you want. By the way, here's something I'm interested in. How many of those people that are out in liberal land went to Yale? Did you know the guy, Yale, Mr. Yale, was it Elihu Yale? He was a slave trader. So I want to know when we're going to see a new name for Yale. And there is Hebrew script on the coat of arms. Are they going to get rid of that too? Just asking. Let's go back to CNN's.
The first capital city of America is Santa Fe, New Mexico, which was founded in 1610. So when white supremacists talk about the original America, it was already multicultural. There were already Latinos. There were already black people. So if we're going to relitigate history, let's start with that.
Is it about statues and monuments? I know you saw the interview I did with Corey Stewart, who's trying to run for a Senate seat there in Virginia. And he makes the case that it is about statues and monuments, and everyone's trying to make it about something else.
I think that we have to get to the heart of the problem here, and the heart of the problem is the way in which many of us were taught American history. American history is not all glorious, and even though I love John to death, I couldn't disagree more about George Washington. George Washington was a slave owner, and we need to call slave owners out for what they are. Whether we think they were protecting American freedom or not, he wasn't protecting my freedom. I wasn't someone who, my ancestors weren't deemed human beings to him. And so to me, I don't care if it's a George Washington statue or a Thomas Jefferson statue or a Robert E. Lee statue. They all need to come down.
All right, we're going to get rid of George Washington now. Let's just wipe him off the map. Let's change, you know what? Maybe we should change it to Obama, D.C. Would that make you happy? So they said it. Let's get rid of George Washington. Ian says San Antonio wasn't Latino, it was Apache. Is there anybody that supports slavery today? I don't think so. I mean, there are Arab Muslims in Africa that still have slaves today. There's still slavery going on. I mean, if she really cared about slavery, why the hell is she not over in Africa trying to stop what's going on in North Sudan, for example? I've been there, by the way. I helped free some slaves. I've done that. I wonder if she has. Mike says the media has blood on their hands, literally, because of their one-sided so-called reporting. They are fueling the fire on the behest of the Democrat Party. They are, where'd it go? They are as close to state-run media as you can get. This is nothing more than indoctrination. Well, Heidi, she says, how about the simple fact that Washington was our first president? That's not enough to have a monument of him? That's not even the reason why George Washington was our best president. The reason why was not because he was the first. George Washington could have been a king. They were willing to hand him, they were willing to hand him the entire country. They wanted him to be a ruler. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. And what he did that most other men of that time would never consider was not that he took power, but that he gave it back. They said as a matter of fact, if you go to Mount Vernon, his home, they call it Colonel Washington's home. Or General Washington's home, sorry. And they're pretty specific, and I wish they still did it. General Washington felt that he had earned the title general, but that the title president was one on loan from the people. And he believed as soon as you step down from being president, you shouldn't have that title anymore. And I agree with that. But that's why he was the great president. And, they're trying to forget every society in the history of the world had slavery. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it was a fact. It was awful. And then that one guy was trying to cut down Western civilization. I praise Western civilization because of what we've done. We brought reason and logic to the world. We didn't bring slavery to the world. What did Western civilization do? They stopped it. I don't know why they're so angry about something that was stopped hundreds of years ago. I mean, take a look at these women. They're not suffering. Look at the outfits on them. These are probably wealthy women. They're on television, on CNN. One of them's a political commentator. The other one's a journalist. They're living large. And they're living large in part because they're stirring it up, stirring up the mess, making it worse. Christina says, if we sanitize history, there was no Civil War, no Harriet Tubman, no Underground Railroad. Our past is in the past. By the way, I do call for the removal of all things that have FDR's name on it. FDR interned hundreds of thousands of Japanese. Now, I know the liberals want to forget that part, but because they love him, because nobody brought more big government to our country and socialism to our country than FDR. But we need to remove the FDR statues. We need to remove the name FDR and everything. How about Teddy Kennedy? I mean, what's worse, being a racist or a murderer? Teddy Kennedy was a murderer. Teddy Kennedy ran, left that girl drowned. Mary Jo Piketty, or I forget her name, but so everything with Teddy Kennedy's name. And how about the great racist of all, the Lion of the Senate, great inspiration to Bill and Hillary Clinton, Robert KKK Byrd. His state is full of buildings and roads and things named after him. How about LBJ? LBJ liked to use that word, the N-word. He loved using that word. Let's get rid of him. So if you want to play this game left, let's go. I'm in. You want to play? I think it's going to be a lot worse for you than you think it will be. Okay. John says, Angie said they did not tear the Stalin statue down. Susan says that's how the media makes their money, by stirring it up. Gladys says, I'm sure they're not sharing any of their money with their underprivileged friends. John says they have vowed to destroy evil America. They've said that many, many times. That's true. Okay, we are wrapping things up. Don't forget, if you would, please, go to Amazon and get my book, would you please? It's on sale until the end of August, and then it's going to go back to full retail price, so I want to get you a good deal. It's called 7 Ways to Win Political Debates with Your Liberal Family and Friends. And still keep them as family and friends. This isn't... The lefties can't call this a hate book. It's not a hate book. This is giving you tips and techniques, telling stories. It's funny. But I'm also encouraging you to get along with your family and friends. It's a good book. Great to get before Labor Day. You got the big picnics coming up at the end of the summer, so get this before that, and also the holidays are coming up. It's at Amazon in paperback, ebook, and on Amazon, and I read that book. It's a lot of fun. All right. That's it, my friends. We're here every night, 9 in the East. That's 6 in the West. You can also find the podcast, The Rusty Humphries Rebellion. That is at iTunes and Stitcher. Another great podcast I'd love for you to check out, Blunt Force Truth, hosted by Chuck Woolery and Mark Young. Don't forget to like and share, like and share, like and share, like and share, like and share. Sure appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out. My name is Rusty Humphries. This is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion.